So let's talk about the progression 5 to 1. 5 to 1 comes from melodic motion. You know how when we go up the scale, you get to the 7th note of the scale. That wants to resolve up, right? Also, when you go down, that also wants to resolve down. This pattern right here, where one voice goes 7-1 and another voice goes 2-1, was the closing figure in counterpoint, and it's called the clausula formalis, the formal close. If we add in a third voice that harmonizes with it, this can give us GBD going to C, 5 to 1. Now you see all three voices at the end here are roots. There's no thirds and fifths. So let's say we're going to add in another pitch here to make it SATB. And then this G, we might think of the G wanting to sustain, but then we'd have three roots and a fifth. That's going to sound rather hollow. When really at the end, here's what that would sound like resolving. We're used to hearing with the third in there. So this G will often go down to here. So let's talk about different ways of resolving the 5 chord. Okay, I'm going to put the second scale degree, the 5th of the 5 chord, in the soprano, because that has a couple possibilities. Okay, so this is going to go to the 1 chord. Now, in this chord, these tendencies are still present. The leading tone wants to resolve. Okay. Here, this note, the second scale degree, wants to resolve. And then we want to have a third. So this goes down here. That's one way to resolve this. That respects the leading tone resolving up, second scale degree resolving down. And this leaps to give us a harmonious final chord with a third in it. Now there are other ways to come up with a more complete final chord. Let's talk about some of those. So if I go back to this same voicing of the 5 chord, one possibility would be to just follow our smoothest possible voice leading to the complete chord. And here now we've got 2 roots, a third, and a fifth. You can see that here the D, rather than resolving down to 1, where it kind of wants to go to close out the melody, this goes up to 3. That does give us a full chord, but that's not giving the 2 the closure that it might want to resolve down to tonic. Okay, but that's one way to do that. And if we rearrange the voices, so this was in an inner voice, it wouldn't be very obvious that that happened. Now let's look at this. This is another option. Okay, so we're going from 5 to 1. Take this here and this here. This is like this one so far. See how the B will want to resolve up to C, and it will give us 3 roots and a third. There's a root, 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 and a third. Now, this is something you can do when you have the leading tone in an inner voice, meaning in either the alto or the tenor. You can do what's called frustrating the leading tone. Remember, the leading tone wants to go up to tonic, T-do, T-do. If it's in an inner voice, we can actually do this and not let it go where it wants to go. Okay, that's called frustrating the leading tone. So that would sound like, I'm going to do it in a different key just because I can't play that note on my keyboard, so I'll do it in F. Okay, and it gives us a complete final chord. So that's one way to do it. Keep in mind that 5 to 1 is the most common progression in tonal music, and it creates a sense of closure and arrival on our final tonic chord, and it can do that strongly if the leading tone resolves appropriately. Keep that in mind. Last thing I want to talk about here is the 5 chord resolving deceptively to the 6 chord. Okay, so when 5 goes to 6, it's not going to 1, it's going to 6, so this is going by step. These upper voices will have to move contrary motion, otherwise we'll get parallel fifths and octaves. Here, this B, if it moved contrary motion, it would give us 2 A's, a C, and an E, which would be our doubling. But in this case, we actually do want to resolve the leading tone up. When we go from 5 to 6, we have 2/3 in the chord, a root, and a fifth. Okay? So when we go, if we had gone from 4 to 5 to 6, this goes up a step, the upper 3 voices go contrary motion. When we go from 5 to 6, this goes up a step. These 2 go contrary motion, but here we still respect the leading tone resolving up to do. And that gives us the doubling, where in 5 to 6, the 6th chord has a doubled third. Okay. Next semester, we will talk about what happens when we add a 7th onto this chord. And that gets interesting and colorful as well. All right, that's all for that.